Welcome to Science Wonders. Thanks for joining me. Today we are going on a worm hunt and we're going to be making a wormery. A wormery is a habitat for the worms, so we can watch how they work. On our hunt today, we are going to be looking for some soil or dirt, some sand, some gravel, some grass clippings and plant food, dry leaves, and also we're going to need a glass jar, maybe a mason jar or some kind of clear container, doesn't have to be glass, and a little bit of water, maybe a tablespoon or so of water. Those are the things we're going to need for our wormery. So let's get started. Let's go on our hunt for the things for our wormery and to find the most important thing for our wormery, the worms. Let's go. So on my deck right now, I have some gravel that I was using for something else, but it will be perfect for our wormery. So I'm going to grab a few pieces of gravel to put in our, there's a few more. We just need enough to fill the bottom of our jar, which Miss Edna forgot to put on her tray, but I will get it. We'll have it before we're finished. All right. Next, we're going to walk around the yard to see what else we can find. Miss Edna has some planters over here that I think it will be okay if I borrow some soil from here. I'm going to borrow some soil from the flower garden. I'm going to use my trowel and add some to my coffee filter. There we go, mixing it up. Add a little bit more. We need mostly soil. All right, I've got lots of soil. Oh, and I got a nice leaf. And that's why I'm using my tray, so it won't matter if it gets messy. So right now we have soil and stones or pebbles. Next we need some sand and some leaves and grass clippings. Let's see if we can find them in the yard. Okay, we're going for another walk. All right, let's go this way. Oh, I see some plants. Ooh, and boys and girls, over here I see some nice bits of grass. Now, I don't have a freshly cut lawn, so I'm just going to grab some of the grass and clover and put it in my filter. So I'm just going to pick some grass and some clover. And there's some dead leaves in this grass and clover. There, got lots of that. Now, what else did we say we needed? Oh, we said we needed some sand. Well, we'll have to go down to the beach. Heading down towards the beach, because that's where you find sand. All right, I see some sand. Let me see. All right, boys and girls, here's the sand at the beach. I've got my trowel. Now we'll dig up some sand and we'll put it on our coffee filter. There we go. Get some more sand. Whew. There, a lot of sand there. And on our coffee filter. Okay, so we have sand, grass, some pebbles, some dirt. Now all we need are some worms. And I know the perfect spot that we will find some worms. Let's go. Going on a worm hunt. Where are we going to find some worms? This area of my yard is very shady. Do you remember, boys and girls, in our story, what it said to look for to see if you can find worms? Boys and girls, do you see this? Right there. I'm wondering if those are worm castings. In our story today, remember how they said the worms put castings at the entrance of their tunnels to act as a door to keep out the weather, the rain? Let's dig and find out. Let's pull that away and see what we see. Let's dig deep. Dig, dig, dig. We're loosening up the soil. Oh, boys and girls, look. Look at that. Miss Edna found a baby worm under there. I bet those were worm castings. Worm castings were our clue where to look and dig to find the worms. Well, boys and girls, we were lucky enough to find some little baby worms. They're so tiny. Do you see what shape he's in? He looks like he's an S. And he's wiggling about. Do you see him wiggling about? Okay, boys and girls, we're going to start making our wormery. So for our wormery, we're going to need a jar or some kind of container. Clear would be nice because then you can see all the things that are happening. So first, we're going to put in our pebbles. So we're going to cover the bottom of our jar with pebbles, just like that. Then we're going to take some sand and we're going to put a layer of sand in on our pebbles. Put a layer in. Then we're going to put a layer of dirt. Another layer of sand. Another layer of sand. Then we're going to put in more dirt. This time we're going to put in 2 layers of dirt. So your wormery should have gravel, sand, dirt, sand, dirt. Then we're going to sprinkle our little bit of water on top. Remember, there was just a little bit of water, about a tablespoon or so. Then we're going to add in our worms. I have 2 worms here. 2 or 3 worms is more than enough for this jar. Now we're going to put our dried leaves and our grass clippings and weeds on top. There's some lunch for our worms. Now it's very important, boys and girls, that we don't put a solid lid on top of our jar or the worms won't be able to breathe. So it's important that if you have a jar that has a lid that's solid, you want to get Mom or Dad to help poke some holes so it has some air holes. Today I'm going to be using a little strainer. It's an old tea strainer that I don't use anymore. So and it fits perfect into my cap. I'm going to put it inside my cap. Screw on my lid, and there. I have lots of air holes for the worms to breathe. Now, when you're finished your wormery, boys and girls, you want to put it in a dark, cool place because the worms live under the earth and it's dark and cool. So we want to make this wormery like their natural habitat, which is the earth. Well, boys and girls, do you see those big wiggly worms? I was telling my husband about going on a worm hunt. He said he'd go on a worm hunt, and he was able to find these 3 big worms to add to our wormery. Do you see how they slither along? And they are very soft and slimy. He found them under a log. So that's another place to look for worms, boys and girls, under a log, because it's a dark, moist place. If we look very closely at this worm, at the very back end of him, you can see he's left a worm casting. Look at that, boys and girls. It went from the front where he was eating the dirt, went all the way through, and at the end, he pooped out a worm casting. That's exciting. These worms are resting. Well, I'm going to add them to our wormery, and we'll check on them another day. Bye, boys and girls. We can see the worm there, and the worm is going to be working his way down into the dark, cool soil. So when we check again in a little while, you won't see the worm on top of the soil, but it will have tunneled into the soil. It's dark and cool, so we want to make this wormery like their natural habitat, which is the earth, dark and cool. Another way you could make this dark is you could put a piece of black construction paper around it, and then when you check on your worms to see how they're doing and to see if they need any more food, you just have to slip the black off, and sometimes you'll even be able to see their tunnels. It will be interesting to see if they have where their worm castings are. So there we are, our wormery. I hope you had fun today, boys and girls, and I hope you make your own wormery. If you do, post a picture below. I would love to see your wormeries.